Hey, everybody. This is King Bob, Robert Wen over here, producer of the Jira Life. And I dragged the co-hosts of the Jira Life, Alex and Rodney, out of bed because we want to do I want to do a special report. And, I decided to bring these two guys into it. One of the things that we haven't had a chance to mention is that about a week ago, a little more than a week ago, Atlassian announced pricing changes. And so we haven't, that hasn't made its way into a TJL news break for various reasons. And so we wanted to kind of have something for you guys to focus on what Atlassian announced. And so I am just going to jump right into it. So Atlassian put out a blog on September 17th, and in it, they detailed some important updates, and including the pricing changes that affect Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, OpsGenie, and a few of their other.
The list goes on. It was
Yeah,
almost
the list goes. It's basically everything. But in addition to that, they also announced changes to packaging. So in other words, features in JSM that were available across the board, free, standard, premium, and enterprise, are only going to be available at the premium and enterprise level. All right. And one last, this is what you can kind of see here is that for free and standard plans are going to get the basics as far as incident management, the incident work category, queues, alerts, and on-call schedules. Basically, the things that they are migrating away from OpsGenie and putting into Teams, that's going to stay in the free and standard plan. Everything else needed for when you turn on those features, they may not be available when you turn them on if you're on free or standard. They've moved to premium and enterprise. So for incident management, being able to set up conference calls and chat tools, being able to identify an incident as a major incident, and setting up a post-incident review. And then for change management, all the major features, including change queues, the change calendar, setting up risk assessments that enable you to automatically categorize whether it's a minor risk or a major risk, integration with CI/CD tools and pipelines, and then even some automation rules that affect change management are only going to be available at premium and enterprise. And then for problem management, problem queues move to premium and enterprise. So, and the other packaging change, this is going to affect all tiers if you're on JSM. Actually, that's not true. Premium and enterprise, this affects premium and enterprise. And that is, there's now going to be a limit and additional prices if you go above that limit. So that includes if you have over 50,000 objects in assets, that's the limit. Object number 50,001, Atlassian will start charging 5 cents per object per month. And then for virtual service agents, the limit is 1,000 virtual service agents monthly. But after anything above is going to be charged 30 cents per assisted conversation per month. So those are the packaging changes and the new things. The next thing that we want to talk about is kind of was the lead, but we've been kind of burying it because Atlassian does it almost every year about this time, and that is that price increases are coming. So Um, if you have any questions about what you're going to be paying, there are some links to an updated pricing table showing what the current price is, both on a monthly basis and an annual basis, and then what it will be after all of these changes take effect. Everything that I've mentioned, the packaging changes, the new limits on assets and service agents, and the prices, they all go in effect on October 16th. So at this point, I think I've shocked Rodney to give him another heart attack, but I do want to give Alex and Rodney some time to uh, give their thoughts on this. So what do you say, guys?
I mean, I've been saying this for a while. The DC guys get it every year where they get this price increase, but you don't really feel like you got anything for your price increase. There's no new features that are coming to you that help you when you're talking to your manager about, hey, we're paying more, but this is what we're getting for it. That hasn't been the case for about 7 years now, really. Some would argue 2019 was the last time, 2018, about 7 years since the last on-prem price increase really felt justified. Jira Cloud, this is the first year where they're experiencing that. And that was honestly one of the comments I got from a user or a reader, watcher, whatever, was that, wow, this doesn't feel like I'm getting anything more from Jira Cloud for this price increase. And I'm just like, first time.
Yeah, that was gonna
And
be one of the 4 things I want to talk about. So we'll get into it.
and I think that's actually kind of a case where that is actually true. Like all of the features are in data center, all of the features are there, for better or worse, right? In Jira software,
Atlassian,
you always had jar.
It's becoming a
In
thing.
I know,
I'll ignore that for now. That's
Hashtag
another
sure.
that's
in
another episode.
in Jira Service Management, the data center version, you have assets, right? Kind of bundled in. What Atlassian is doing that's unique this time is they are in addition to the price increases, they're actually moving features from standard to premium. So if you want, at least on JSM, right? If you want to have,
It's on others too, like Jira Work Management as well.
well, this is the one that I saw um moving straight to premium, where it had always been on free and standard.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Um
I this morning I looked at Jira Work Management and the overviews that you used to be able to create for a Jira Work Management project. That moved to plans. So if you're not on premium,
Mm-hmm.
you lost that.
mhm.
So yeah, it's a trend where they're stripping. That's one of the 4 topics I want to talk about. Right there, you're getting less, especially in the standard and free, less capability, and they're really the premium is the only option at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at it objectively now. Atlassian has shareholders they have to keep happy, which means they have to show increased revenue year over year ad nauseum. The problem is, and they've stated for their SaaS product, their cloud offering, everyone who was going to move from data center or server to cloud
They're there.
has already done it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That is a dry well, if you were.
Right.
So
There's
now,
still some notable holdouts, right?
mhm,
And obviously a move for those holdouts is not a minor thing. It
mhm.
it may be like a multi-year endeavor.
So anyone who's going to move pretty much already has. Let's just take that as fact. Their
And
own
and
data
anyone
supports
who's
this.
and anyone who's there isn't going anywhere. That's a
Yeah,
fact.
anyone who's there isn't going anywhere. So now they need to show increased revenue, but they have basically the same population. Well, the only way to do that is increase price on that same population. I think that's why we haven't seen as dramatic a price increase, and especially those feature
But
moving, because
but
that's
it's
the
a
carrot to
but
get
it's a
people to start
dramatic
paying.
but it is a dramatic price increase though.
I mean, it
Not
is.
not year over year, but capability wise, right? If you're a company who's on standard JSM and we're using incident management and now you have more than 2 extra bill
Yeah.
in addition to the 10% increase. So you're looking at at least a 60% increase in your bill.
And this is the thing that the server people and the data center people have been dealing with for
Years.
years. And it's like, well, she's on the other foot now.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy. Like when I looked at the increases and like the functions that we got, like I was like, whiteboards, we got that 23. There wasn't a new thing this year.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, Jira got crappier this year.
They're definitely loading up the carrots, on premium and enterprise, right? You want, you want accessibility for, Atlassian Intelligence and potentially Rovo. Got to be on premium, right?
But keep in mind, Rovo is going to be an added expense too.
That's true.
And I would predict, calling it out here too, October 2025 increase will include automation rule usage charges. I was blown away that it wasn't included in this year.
They're still stinging from when they announced that last year.
Yeah, but it stings more that you can't buy more.
Mm-hmm.
Like the assets you can buy more, the virtual agents you can buy more, and then the assets, the moment you hit your limit, you're done. There are no more executions happening. And they got to be able to enable you to. You can't run a business off automation rules like that.
I would agree with that. They were dipping their toe as far as like limiting automation rules, because in some sense you have to. It was probably costing Atlassian a pretty penny to
we saw
to operate that.
We saw at Team 24 in the keynote where they said they did 1 billion executions per month. And AWS is going to get their penny out of that. And Atlassian's just been footing that cost.
Yep. So I think charging for excess usage, it's not a new thing. It's actually there in Bitbucket. If you need more space or if you need additional runner minutes, you can buy them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, right? but it was expected there. But I guess, I mean, as a SaaS, you got to expect everything, right?
You will rent everything and be happy about it.
Yeah.
And you can't complain a single thing. I still wonder if one day there will be a dramatic shift to go back to owning your own data center.
I mean, there's still holdouts. No comment.
There's a faithful few, but more and more companies, like, it's just crazy, like out of control, because it's not just Jira, right? You got every other SaaS tool that you depend on going up.
Well, I mean, I think a good analog for this is what we saw in the media market over the past decade and a half, where everyone used to own their own physical media, DVDs, right, Blu-rays, all that. And eventually we got away from that and started going to these streaming subscriber models. And we were happy with that for a while, but then they start raising the prices and fragmenting and raise the prices and fragmenting. And it's now to the point where people are like, no, really, I think I want to go back to owning my own stuff again.
I predict then, on that note, that if Atlassian's following traditional media the way they are closely doing it right now, that they will introduce a more improved, like, Atlassian, what do they call it when you can bundle Confluence and Trello and Guard?
I think that's what it's called, bundle.
Yeah, I think they're going to start bundling these, right? You're going to get a package for a cheaper price, but you get Loom, you get Rovo, you get all of them.
I mean, Team 23, they already mentioned one bundle. I forget what it was called.
Yeah, but it didn't really stick. It was the fact that the three of us that spend all of our time in Jira.
Well, there was actually a reason why it didn't stick, and
because it killed off one of the products.
No, it was because they were merging Jira Work Management
That's
and Jira
they're killing
Software
off
as
one of the
Jira,
products.
and so they couldn't offer that bundle anymore.
Right,
Yeah.
so they kill off one of the products. But yeah, I just think that they're gonna have to start bundling. I think it'll be a trend, right? Because right now Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN comes as a bundle, or even with HBO, and you can bundle a couple of other tools, right? It's gonna be the trend. Prediction for 2025, or for at least 2026. There's a point where there's got to be a tipping point where this is just too expensive, and people are gonna second guess their usage of these Atlassian tools. You can't keep increasing price forever.
I
Right.
mean, here's the thing, and I mentioned this earlier. When Atlassian does this, we as the Jira admins have to go to our organizations to go, okay, here's what's going to cost next year. I know this is not what I said when I did my budget in January, but this is because partners knew a little bit ahead of time, but we were not allowed to say until September 17th. So this, for most people, came out of the blue in the middle of September when
Spoiler
people,
for everybody going forward. September of 2025, expect an announcement for an October 2025 increase. I
yeah,
don't understand
and
why
you
it's such a
probably
secret.
expect about 15%, maybe
Yeah,
more,
5 to
but
15%.
mhm,
That's what it's gonna be.
but now they have to go back to their management and say our bill's going to be more expensive because the last thing said it was going to be, and we're not getting anything new for it. In fact, we're getting less features
Yeah,
unless
and
we
in
pay
fact, yeah,
even
and in fact,
more.
yeah, and you gotta double it if you wanna if you wanna get the features.
So,
It's mind blowing to me. I was looking just a few moments ago, or at the before we started this. My Atlassian bill. I haven't paid for Jira in a while because we have that Atlassian one. And I was looking at my bill. My 2022 bill was $15.25 for just one user, and then it went up to $16 in 2023, and now it's up to 17. So that's $2 almost
Mhm.
per
per
user.
user.
Per user times. I'm just one. Imagine a 2,000, 3,000 person company. That quickly adds up.
I did the math back when the server end of life was first announced, just on the comparative prices between cloud and data center. What I found back then, and I'd be surprised if this has changed, is at right about 2 to 3,000 users, I believe it was. You can go to JiraGuide.com to get it because it's documented there if you want the exact numbers. But there was a point where cloud became more expensive than data center. And everyone's always talking about, oh, data center is expensive. And it is, especially compared to what server used to cost.
10 bucks can be $10.
I mean, even at the higher tiers, it was always cheaper than data center. It was a upsell to go to data center.
Yeah. But
But
Jira's so cheap though. Like when you compare it to the competitors, right? Like Monday.com is way more expensive still. And it
I
does a
mean, let's go
fraction.
to old competitors, Salesforce. I mean, I know they're not technically in the same market. Atlassian products are not a CRM. I've said this time and again, but they do exist in the same space. And
See, that's
Salesforce is an order of magnitude more expensive.
yeah, and that's where I think Atlassian is resting their laurels, if that's the right word or usage of this, right? They're banking on the fact that service now costs you two arms, two kidneys, a heart, and a everything
And
else
your
in your body.
firstborn.
Yeah,
And your firstborn.
and then your unborn next, secondborn, right? Like it's
Yeah.
that's how much service now costs. And they're thinking like we have until that limit because people are paying today actively at that price for a different
Right.
product. So they know they got this much wiggle room, and it's just hurting people with no budgets. So
The
do you think they'll
problem
make
Atlassian has is the anchor effect. This is the problem you get when you start cheap. People get anchored to
Yep.
that price point. So anytime you raise rates, they're still anchored to that previous price point and going, whoa, hold up here. You used to be this cheap. Now you're this. What's going on here?
Do you think Atlassian will ever turn into how they started off Jira pricing back in the day where you paid for features? Because what if you don't want?
You
I
you're
mean,
you're
are we
almost
not
you're
already?
almost arguing that's starting to happen now.
Right. Well, like I'm saying, like just food for thought, right? Like Atlassian Intelligence is one of the biggest reasons to go to premium in Jira software right now, right?
Mhm.
Most of the teams I work with have that thing turned off for privacy reasons. So why am I paying for something I explicitly even turned off?
I mean, you're not wrong there, but
I'm never wrong.
Rovo, I find it interesting they put that in its own
I don't.
pricing category. I think that's evidence that they're starting to go back to that pay per feature. Oh, you want the Rovo features? That's a separate item.
Yeah,
And just the
Compass being a separate product discovery being a
guard.
separate product, yeah. They're either gonna make a separate function, like a separate product altogether, like product discovery Compass, or they're going to do that like a la carte thing with smaller, maybe not so big. Like Beacon, they just bundle it with Guard, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's part of the premium.
Yeah, so that would have been a side product, or just bundle it with a more expensive thing. Then you get something more expensive. I don't know. Like I said, I think Atlassian is looking at the ecosystem of enterprise companies and going, there's room to grow here because enterprises have deep budgets.
And I agree with you. That's what Atlassian's doing. I'm looking at it as a customer, and I think the anchor effect is going to start to bite them if it's not already.
Yeah. But that still leads to my wishful thinking. It's time for a group of 3 individuals here to get together and create the next not another Jira.
Yeah, it might have to be a different 3 individuals with better programming skill sets.
Yeah.
Hey, we
Yeah.
can use I just use AI as Atlassian's work breakdown structure using AI. Thing of beauty. We can just
And
do it with that.
that really scares me.
Ooh, I don't like the idea of coding by AI. I really don't.
Not yet
But
anyway.
well, let's stay on topic. But and then
Yeah, so let's
let's recap what we got here.
actually let's have I want to have one more question. Um what do you guys suggest if the possible you know mitigations side things, how would you prepare for October 16th?
First thing I'm doing is the same thing I've always advised for data center folks who have been in the same situation. Get on top of those managements. If you have someone who has not been using Jira, Confluence, whatever, for 2 months, 3 months, kick them out.
Yeah, 90
You're
days is
paying
my limit. I know,
you're
and
paying
we're
for
on
them to use a product that they're not using. Don't waste your money.
dude, check
So
your
get on
invited.
top of your get on top of your licenses, get on
Yeah.
top of your users, see who's actually using the product, and only pay for those. And there are some tools out there that let you go. Oh, so and so hasn't logged in for 90
It's
days.
built into
They're
Jira
out.
now. It's built into Jira.
Mhm.
You
Is
can
it
go to
now?
your admin.atlassian.com and there's a insights, or I think it's called insights. It's either insights or analytics, but there's under security, there's an insights right above your audit log. And you can click on that and it'll show you exactly every product you have and the actual number of active users.
Mhm.
I would also make sure you get rid of your invited, because not a lot of people know that if you invite someone, you're paying for them.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Anybody invited occupies a license, even
Yeah.
if you misspell their email address and
Yep.
they never got the invitation.
Yep.
Also check your plugins. Not maybe you had an admin from 2-3 years ago that thought it was a good idea to get a plugin. Maybe it's just not being used anymore. That's another little saving. And then I would also add, you got 2 weeks. Get yourself on annual if you can afford it. Lock in the prices for at least 12 months.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, if you're like 90 days away, if you're on annual and you're 90 days away from having to renew, get that quote, because then the quote counts, and they will honor that pre-October 16th quote.
Yep. Um, Start looking at how you're using assets. Start looking at how you're using all the other features. Figure
Determine
out.
if you really need them, because standard is
Yeah.
still an option, right?
Yeah.
Do you really need AI? Do you really
Do
need
you,
jars? Like you don't need the jar when you can use something like Visor, right? You don't
yeah.
need assets when you can. There's plugins for assets as well that are like a
Um,
fraction of the cost.
Same thing to be said with automation rules. See if there's an app that could do the same thing. Because if you could pay once for, let's say, something from AppFire for post functions, you get that just that once, and you don't have to worry about how many
Yeah.
automations am I
Or
using.
or look to see if an automation rule can be done in a workflow thing, right? Because
hmm
a lot of these ones are like send a notification. Well, look at your notification scheme, people. Like, why are you wasting an automation rule for this?
But take that same approach as well to your assets and your other pay-per-use features.
Yeah.
Your virtual agents. Is there something else that can do the same job that you're not paying per execution?
Yeah, gone are the days where you can just foolishly just be wasteful.
Yep. Okay.
Well, Bob, thanks for putting this whole thing together.
Well, of course. So, just a quick recap on October 16th. And there were some changes announced. These take effect October 16th. These include pricing changes on
All of them,
almost all
everything.
of the Atlassian products, but also coming into effect on October 16th are packaging changes to Jira service management, especially for incidents, change management, and problem management. And then also there are on October 16th there are going to be limits on the number of JSM asset objects, as well as virtual agent conversations that you can have. If you exceed those limits, they will start accumulating charges for those anything over that limit. And so this is the crew of the Jira Life. I'm King Bob. There's Alex Ortiz. There's Rodney, the Jira guy, and we are signing off on this special report.